Good morning and namaskaram to everyone. Professor Ramji Singh, Sri Prakash Rao, Professor Manoranjan Sinha, Mr. Aditya Sinha, and our beloved Swamiji, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed great honor and pleasure to welcome all of you here. I have been in this institution long before, but when I see so many young faces and so many professors here, I remember those days when Dr. Triguna Sen was here. He was a friend of my father, so I had the honor to pay my respect to him. And it is indeed pleasure again to be in this hall, which is dedicated to his name. Friends, we are discussing a very interesting subject. From my young age, I was, when very young, at that time, all the facilities of computers and calculators and all that was not there. गुरुजी की पाठशाला में पढ़ा. So first of all, I should pay my respect to all the gurus who have been in my life with a small prayer. Ajnanam timirandhasya jnananjan salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Guruvai Namaha. Friends, we had honor also of listening to the pravachan of Sri Prabhupada ji in early 60s. I didn't have pleasure of meeting Dr. T.D. Singh, but I pay homage to him. For him, this institution Bhakti Vedanta is there. And Vasudeva Rao ji, who is now president of Bhakti Vedanta Institute, he is representing Dr. T.D. Singh. And Bhakti Vedanta Institute is doing a great work. About Bharatiya Sanskriti Sansad and Bharatiya Vidya Mandir, we have been in the cultural field of Calcutta and all over India. Bharatiya Vidya Mandir was established in 1948 by my grandfather for education, research, and cultural programs. Bharatiya Vidya Mandir was established in 1955 by my father, Sri Madhodas Ji Munra, for learning, for culture, knowing our culture, and presentation of cultural programs, and also our knowledge. So a lot of great scholars had come to our institution, like Sri Jayaprakash Narayan, Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I told you about Swami Ranganathanand, and so many others. Great scholars had come to our institution. So I had pleasure of listening to them. On the present day conference, well, we have had number of conferences with the guidance of Sri Vasudeva Rao for last several years. Last one which I attended was in 2017 probably, which was organized in Ravindra Tirth. At that time, the subject was science and consciousness. And mostly it was quantum physics and consciousness. So I was thinking on that. In the meantime, we had this period of Corona. I lost 60% of my eyes. But I have been thinking and brooding. what this subject of consciousness is. What is consciousness? How it acts? How it affects our life and world? Where does it go when we die, and how does it come? इसके गुण धर्म क्या है? So, to discuss all that, from the young age, my quest has been on that subject. I read, I will come to, there are two branches. One is present day modern science, and other is our tradition. So I will come to our tradition later on. Present day modern science, where it started long back, probably Plato or Aristotle or some Greek philosopher. They talked about atom. We also had Kanad to discuss about Anu and Parmanu. Then in 19th century we had Young, and in 20th century we had Max Planck. Thereafter we had Dr. Einstein. They discussed, while Dr. Einstein is famous for his theory of relativity, but then he had contributed quite a lot towards quantum physics. Then we had Max Planck, and then Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, and there was a lot of debate and dialogue between Dr. Einstein and Niels Bohr. And then we had Schrödinger and so many others, Young, von Neumann, Bohm, Broglie. And I will not bother you or bore you with all these names. You are all scholars, and you know all the names, but I'll particularly refer to Roger Penrose and Hamerhoff. Recently, this development in quantum physics, which at time of Schrödinger, the question was that does consciousness affect the outcome? The electron moving through the pair of slits, whether the wave function collapses due to consciousness or when there is an observation. So when you put observation, then wave function collapses and it becomes a particle. Otherwise, it remains a wave. This was something strange. Then we heard about Schrödinger's cat. These were all strange things, because we were accustomed about the Newtonian mechanistic world. But how consciousness can affect a material object or energy, this was a puzzle. Then we came to, I will bring you to Roger Penrose and Hamerhoff. They discussed this subject at length. And last, I heard about, I'm forgetting the name, this is the problem with old age. One scientist, somebody Hoff, he said that time and space is not ultimate. We don't exist in time and space. Consciousness does not exist only in time and space. Rather, consciousness is creating time and space. It was a strange sort of, this is what I heard. So these are some mind-boggling problems. Whilst we discuss it from the angle of modern science, what is consciousness, how it acts, what is its science. Similarly, when I go to the other branch, from Vedas, the discussion about consciousness starts. The small one, very one sentence I remember: Kasmai devaya havika videma. हिरण्यगर्भ संवर्तताग्रे भूतस्य जात पथिरेक वासीत सदाधार पृथ्वीं द्यामुते माम कस्मै देवाय हविकाम देवा. So who is behind all this universe? किसकी सत्ता में हम हैं? Who creates us? And then we had Vedas and Sardarshan, जिसके अंदर सांख्य, वैशेषिक, मीमांसा, योग, वेदांत. We had Upanishads, जिसके अंदर कॉन्शियसनेस के ऊपर बहुत चर्चा हुई. Then we had Brahma Sutra, and most important, जहां पर भगवान ने कहा वासांसी जीर्णानि यथा वहाय नवानि गृह्णाति देहि. हम मर जाते हैं, मरणार्जी ना कुछ नहीं, न जन्म कुछ, न मृत्यु कुछ. बस सिर्फ इतनी बात है, किसी की आंख खुल गई, किसी को नींद आ गई. तो भगवान ने कहा कि हम जैसे कपड़े बदलते हैं उसी तरह से हम शरीर बदलते हैं. आत्मा अमर है. सो ये जो आत्मा का तत्व जो आया कॉन्शियसनेस के मामले में, ये कहां से आ गया? ऑल्दो हमारे यहां कॉन्शियसनेस के 4 अंग कहे गए हैं, जिसको अंतःकरण चतुष्टय कहते हैं: मन, बुद्धि, चित्त, अहंकार. सो आत्म तत्व क्या है? क्या ये आत्मा शरीर में है वही कॉन्शियस है? एक जगह मैंने पढ़ा, तदैव तत्त्वं त्वं विद्धि येनः प्राणः प्रणीत. से हैं और ये प्राण निकल जाते हैं. when we die, what goes away from फील्ड की बातें, उसके अंदर कई वेव फंक्शन कोलैप्स वहां पर होता है. क्या भगवान जाने. आई डोंट. प्राण निकल जाते हैं तो क्या ब्रेन डेड हो जाने से क्या प्राण निकलते हैं, या हार्ट हृदय बंद हो जाने से प्राण निकलते हैं? कैसे? इंटरेस्टिंगली, शरीर धारण करते हैं. रिसेंटली बड़ी मजे की बात सुनी. एक डॉक्टर ब्रेन वेस है, he is psychotherapist practicing regression therapy, and he demonstrated that when we die we take rebirth, and this has been earlier also we were born. And I read some of his books, and then there were 4,000 or 5,000 cases he has done when I read his books few years back. So what is this rebirth? Whole idea of rebirth. And besides Dr. Brainwaves, there were others too. Then question is that what are our dreams? So there are one question remains. What is emotion? Emotions are part of our consciousness. Sorrow, love, ये सब कहाँ से आ जाते हैं? So some of these things cannot be explained simply by physics. So in this on this subject, there has to be a discussion amongst the philosophers, physicists, neuroscientists, even anesthetists, and so many others. All these disciplines have to sit together and give us one conclusion, because it is confusing. And we do not want to get so much involved into their technical jargon. We want to have simple results. And more so, you see, whenever there have been discoveries in science, we have tried to make our life better. Today, when all this strife is going on around the world, they are trying to kill each other. Something may be at our doorstep also. So if we can understand the science of consciousness and make use of it for humanity and better life for human beings, ऊर्ध्वगामी जीवन, उसी के लिए ये कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑर्गेनाइज की जा रही है। पहले भी की थी और हम आगे भी करेंगे। एक बात मैं और बता देना चाहता हूं, भारतीय संस्कृति संसद में हमारे बहुत से लेक्चर्स प्रोग्राम्स होते रहते हैं। If anyone is interested, please let us know at the front desk. Some of our volunteers are sitting. And in Bharati Vidya Mandir are running, besides some publications, they are running classes on classical music. A disciple of Pandit Jasraj, he is teaching, it's a Jasraj Music Academy over there. We are soon going to start classes on Indian culture, a diploma course on Indian culture, and a degree course also probably later on. So that will be started. And there are so many other training programs and applied technology programs. Those are also there in Bharati Vidya Mandir. So friends, you enjoy this conference. I welcome all of you. Please have attend all the time. This will be very illuminating conference. And we thank you again. Namaskar.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. My respects to my spiritual teacher, Dr. T.D. Singh, and all the teachers and respected dignitaries on the dais, and speakers, guests, students, professionals, volunteers, and everybody who is present here, as well as who is supporting this conference outside the auditorium or beyond this place. Bhaktivedanta Institute is celebrating 50 years of its inception in 1974 by the founders, Srila Prabhupada and Dr. T.D. Singh, His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami. And Bhaktivedanta Institute is working, if you would like to say precisely, on this topic to find a paradigm based on consciousness, consciousness-based paradigm. So from last 50 years, there are innumerable conferences, books published, research articles published. So the question that may arise is, why science of consciousness? To understand its significance, Srila Prabhupada ji, who is the founder Acharya of Bhaktivedanta Institute, he went to America in 1960s. In the very beginning days, he was invited to give a lecture in MIT. He was speaking to the MIT students, all top technical institute in the world, and top students. There he asked one question. Started the lecture with one question. What is the difference between a living body and a dead body? What actually is the difference? So there was silence. And it is the same case even today. We know biologically how body stops, but we don't know what is death. In spite of so much research in so many years, science has not yet still found the answer, or rather, it's not even seriously trying about consciousness. But serious attempts have to be made to understand the consciousness. Consciousness word, we all use it. Somebody fell unconscious, conscious. But first time in an academic way or in a scholarly way, my thinking started when I heard from Prabhupada Krishna consciousness. When he went to America in 60s, he coined this word where when consciousness is not at all an issue or is a topic among the academic circles. He coined this word. So we were thinking, what is this consciousness? And that intrigue, fascination, and excitement continues even today about the consciousness. So Prabhupada has started an institute with his Dr. T.D. Singh, his disciple. He was doing PhD at that time in University of California. That you try to explain what is this consciousness, what is the meaning of life, purpose of life, then your PhD will have more meaning instead of having PhD and continuing like everyone else. So with that inspiration, this institute has started. Consciousness is, there are many aspects to consciousness, why it is important. I have written an article in the conference booklet in the beginning, why science of consciousness. I have given around 16. I started putting and then things are coming, many are coming and still coming, but we have to stop. So I have given some 16. I will just mention a couple of them, few of them. Consciousness is the foundation of all knowledge. Please think about it. Whatever we know, it is because of act of knowing, which is a function of consciousness. So if you see from that point of view, consciousness is the foundation of all knowledge. Max Planck has remarked in this regard that it is only through the immediate dictate of our consciousness that we know that this world exists. And that consciousness may to a certain degree be called as a special sense. So it is only because of the consciousness that we know that something exists outside of the world. So in one sense, consciousness is the proof of everything else outside world. We look into a microscope or a telescope and we take it as a proof. But what is proof? What is validating it as a proof? It is our conscious experience and our conscious analysis and conclusion. So in that sense, consciousness is foundation of all branches of knowledge, not only in science, but in all fields of knowledge. And many scientists have started recognizing that there is something, consciousness inside of us, which we need to think about. Roger Penrose, in this regard, he points out that there is nothing in our physical theory of what the universe is like, which says anything about why something should be conscious and other things not. We don't have any physical theory. Why something should be conscious, why something should not be conscious. And for this universe, we all have read about Big Bang theory. Universe has started with a big explosion. But the question remains, what actually caused the explosion? Because matter and energy, as we know, they don't initiate any action on their own. So what started this? So there should be something different from matter which initiates the first action. So therefore, if we properly research consciousness, consciousness could be actually the ultimate origin of all actions in the universe. So that is so important, that is so significant. And consciousness is the core of our existence. We are our consciousness. You are your consciousness. So if you ask about our existence, at the core, we are our consciousness. And then the ethics and values. We are all trying to inculcate ethics and values in our lives and also teach them. But ethics and values dependent on our understanding of consciousness, because consciousness is a platform to know how to interact with the environment and other beings. It is a platform where right and wrong finds a meaning and therefore have a meaningful foundation to decide what is right and what is wrong. Foundation for universal values can emerge from such a scientific understanding of consciousness and its properties. So when you say right and wrong, from a pure materialistic scientific point of view, there is no right, there is no wrong. Everything has material, physical explanation. There is nothing called right or wrong, but we ourselves feel that there is something called right and wrong. In order for the right and wrong to have a meaningful meaning for right and wrong to exist, we need to understand consciousness. So there is some already Mundraji has already little bit talked about it. Why not science and consciousness? Why science of consciousness? So in science and consciousness, the inner understanding is that there is science, there is consciousness. So how to fit them, or how to understand one another, or what is the significance of each other's. But when we say science of consciousness, that it is time now for the science to deal with consciousness, to account for it. In fact, there is growing confidence among the scientists and scholars that consciousness exists. So now is the time for science to account for it. It is time for the curiosity of all of us to inquire the inquirer. David Chalmers, who is famous for soft and hard problems of consciousness, he said the heart of science of consciousness is trying to understand the first person perspective. When we look at the world from the perspective of science, we take the third person perspective. We see a subject as a body with a brain and with certain behavior. We can be terribly objective, but something very important about being a human being is left out. As human beings, we all know that it feels like something from inside. We have sensations, thoughts, feelings, but for some reason, in last 50 or 100 years, science has tended to ignore this. So that's why we need science of consciousness. We have to take seriously about consciousness. The reason for the science to ignore consciousness or not take very serious, be serious about consciousness is that science is objective, whereas consciousness is subjective. So therefore, there is foundational block, foundational inertia to deal with the problem. If science were to account for subjective experience of consciousness, we should be prepared for a foundational change and broadening the boundaries of science if required. We should not be afraid of such changes because it will only help science as well as humanity at large. In similar lines, Michael Poliani expresses boldly the recognition of certain basic impossibilities have laid foundations of some major principles of physics and chemistry. Similarly, recognition of the impossibility of understanding living things in terms of physics and chemistry, far from setting limits to our understanding of life, will guide in the right direction. Such a demonstration would help to draw a truer image of life and man than that given by the present concepts of biology. So, if we have to explain consciousness beyond physics, chemistry, biochemistry, or what we study in biology nowadays, we should take it because in the beginning, in the beginning of the quantum physics, there was some foundational change in this way about non-locality and other things. But once we accepted that, there is a new field of knowledge which has exploded. Similarly, if you have difficulty in explaining consciousness in terms of present day science, present day physics and chemistry, if you have to go beyond that, we should not hesitate because it will only open up a new field, just like quantum physics. And consciousness is the meeting point of science, philosophy, spirituality, and art. They appear to be different compartments of our knowledge because even in the university, for example, you don't deal with all of them. So consciousness is the meeting point of science and religion. Dr. T.D. Singh is to say, consciousness study has long been part of our spiritual wisdom. In the ancient literature of India, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, the topic of consciousness has been treated as central issue. The scriptures teach how to evolve our consciousness to perfection. So the spiritual traditions from very beginning, in a direct or indirect way, they are dealing with the consciousness. Consciousness has been their central theme. So therefore, if we develop a sense of consciousness, we could have a theory of everything in one sense. We are trying to find theory of everything, but theory of everything probably not out in the universe, but theory of everything probably there inside of us, the consciousness. If you find proper science of consciousness, it will connect everything, and there we will get science of everything. So, and spiritual traditions like Vishnu Purana, they also explain that biodiversity, not only the biological explanation, there is deeper conscious explanation. Why there are different species is to facilitate different levels or degrees of consciousness. So in this way, consciousness could be a meeting point of science, philosophy, art, and spirituality. And consciousness is the best property we own. Consciousness is all that we have actually, if you really analyze. Nothing belongs to us, only consciousness belongs to us. And it is never taken away. It is conserved, like law of conservation of energy. Consciousness is conserved. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says. Najayate muryate va kadachin na bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nityo shashvatoyam purane na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So consciousness is the best property we have. That's what we carry after we leave it. So therefore, let us develop it. Consciousness is the best property we have. Let us develop it by science of consciousness. Thank you very much. Have a nice conference.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, now all the esteemed dignitaries on the dais, and welcome to this conference on science of consciousness. So I'll be very short because I have to give a little bit details about this conference. Okay. So we all know about the consciousness because we are having it, but as we know that we are not able to define it well. As Siddharth right in the beginning, he told, quoting the chief editor of the Nature. So roughly what we can say that it's a awareness about the external world, awareness about the self also. So it's in this rough way we define the consciousness. And if you see Professor Mukhopadhyay is there Professor Mukhopadhyay is here, and he is well known to, he has written many books on consciousness, and his lecture is scheduled, and it's tomorrow. So you will have very good overview about the consciousness here. So let me introduce little bit. So we all know we are not robots. Okay, robots are robots, and if we are robots, then obviously you will see that why don't the scientists right in the beginning they send their own daughters and sons to the moon or whatever the space exploration that started. They would did it on the started with the robots and thereafter rabbits and so on. So those things are started. But we never send our own kids or our own relatives right in the beginning because we know that they are the conscious being. We are attached to them, and we are attached to them because of our consciousness only. So because of this consciousness, we are different from the robots. So getting aware of the surrounding is different from the awareness of a computer. A computer model, say, I have worked in little bit in the neural networks area. So those in the computer science area, they must be aware of the half-field neural network. It's a dynamic neural network basically. So basically the brain consists of many neurons, and there are self-feedback and feedback from the other neurons, and because of that, it forms a dynamic system. So whenever you give some initial input, so system gets excited, and thereafter it will settle down. So the initial system states, it settles to the attractor of the system. These are called the attractors of the dynamics of the system. So basically, whatever the today we see in the form of the, we remember the faces or many other things. So they all get for long-term memory, they get embedded in the attractors of this dynamics of this system. So whenever I am seeing you, or even a faulty picture, if I write even a letter, so even half of that given, some doctor is writing the prescription, and we know on that prescription that some letters are very difficult to read, but still we can recognize that, okay, this is the letter A, B, or whatever it may be. Okay. So it's because of that we start with the faulty image, we give it to the brain, and neural network gets excited, and ultimately it settles down to the attractor, and then immediately we know that this is the particular letter, or this is the particular person, even after a long time. Only after once the memory starts getting impaired in the sense that the it's because of the Professor Mukhopadhyay will explain it tomorrow in a much better way because he is the expert in this area. So because of the chemicals present in the brain, the synaptic junction. So we in the mathematical modeling we call it the neural weights. So because of that, this memory is constituted. So using the computer model of the half-field network, you can encode any image there. Okay, and as soon as you give a faulty image, so the system gets excited, it will work on that, and finally it will converge to the attractor of the system. So this is the way it works, and the same way our brain is working. Okay, but we know that our brain is doing the same thing, and robot is or the computer is doing the same thing, but both are not the same. It's a totally different. We see the image, but computer never sees any image. It just matches 1 and 0. Say while a picture is being matched by a computer, so it does in terms of 0 and 1 if it is black and white picture. So it's just matching a matrix. It is nowhere aware of that it is really matching a picture. It is the software that is encoded which is doing the job. Okay, so it's a very interesting, and it's a very intriguing also that we research in this area. And so if you see in 2022, so some researchers at the Bee Sensory and Behavioral Ecology Lab at Queen Mary University of London observed that the bumblebees pushed the given small wooden balls around and rotated them. So they were given some small wooden balls and they started playing with this. So the behavior had no obvious connection to the mating or survival, nor was it rewarded by the scientists. Okay, so no reward, nothing was given to the bees. They were doing it automatically. So it was apparently just for fun. and this study declared support for the consciousness to a wider suite of animals than has been formally acknowledged before. So many people in the Western countries, especially, they used to assume that even if you see still today, the animals, they do not have any consciousness, but they are not souls or whatever you say. The insects, they were far below that. So now they have accepted. This is because of the research done in the 2022. Okay, and then they prepared a declaration, and it was signed by many eminent scientists like David Chalmers, and then Anil Seth from USA, and the many people. Okay, hundreds of scientists have signed declaring that even the insects are conscious. Okay. So science is really coming up, and it's very interesting to see that the whatever it was written in the Vedic literature 5,000 years back, so those things are getting slowly verified, and it's a and we should put a lot of effort, and in this direction, serious research should be started so that the things gets well established. Because if we are aware that the other living entities are also conscious, they have the pain, the pleasure, as Bhagavad Gita says, that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanchati samah sarvesu bhutesu madbhakti labhate param. So all the living entities, they are conscious and they have the pain and pleasure. And the person who knows, who is situated on the Brahman platform and Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na sochati na kanchati, he is neither thinking, lamenting, or doing anything. Okay, na sochati na kanchati, sama sarmesu bhutesu, equal to all the living entities. Okay, even to the insects, the trees, okay, they are not unnecessarily harming them. Sama sarvesu bhutesu mad bhakti labhate param. So those kind of people only get my devotional service. They come to know me. So this is clearly declared, and this is one very important verse from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so in this connection, you see that the science, it's taking us to the same conclusion what is already declared in the Vedic literature, but it's coming slowly. So if we put effort in this area, okay, and already government is also encouraging, and internationally also it's being encouraged, just like this study I told you about the bumblebees. So it will be very interesting to work in this area, and job avenues will also be there. It's not that the job is not there in this area, because once you are here in this area, so you'll be related to the medical science, biology, and other things, even in the computer science area. So you will have enough job, and your life of survival opportunity will be there. So many other things are happening, and recently integrated information theory has been declared. So it's basically a self-connecting network. For that, it has been declared, but all of them, it's telling that the consciousness gets generated at the brain level, at the cells level. But we, from the Vedic literature, we know it that the consciousness is the property of the soul, and it does not get generated at the cells level. Okay. And those who are from the mechanical engineering background, they must be knowing about the bending of the beam. So bending of the beam problem was not solved for 100 years because it was wrongly assumed that actually what happens that in the bending of the beams, any surface perpendicular to the neutral axis, initially it remains perpendicular to that. And there was some wrong assumption about that. And because of that, that problem was not solved for 100 years. So if you have any wrong assumption in solving any problem, means you have wrongly formulated the problem, then you are going over a wrong path and problem will not get solved. So it's a very important that we first we start with the right assumption, our hypothesis is correct, and then you later on verify it experimentally and whatever you want to do. So if we go in the correct direction, so if we write on the beginning, we assume like the science, the work which is going on the cell level, the microtubules and all those things, whatever the quantum waves are working, collapsing and all those things, as Dr. Mundra was telling. So this kind of thing, it will not solve the problem because you are formulating the problem in a wrong way. Okay, the problem is different. The consciousness is the property of a soul, and it gets connected with the soul through the agent which is called the mind. And mind is a subtler element, and we know from our Vedic literature there are 5 elements which we call Chitijan, Pava, Gagan, Samira. But these are not the gross elements which the Greeks have this understanding that these are the gross elements just like our earth, fire, water. This is not true. These are really very fine elements of which the other elements are made. Okay, and mind is considered to be even subtler than that. So it's a very subtle element and which bridges the gap between your brain and the consciousness. How does it, how the mind is doing this job, it's not understood because the mind also carries, as we know from the Vedic literature, it carries impressions from our previous life. Say in the case of the identical twins. So some of the identical twins, we will find that their behavior is drastically different. That means they will have the same taste, liking for the same color, same kind of taste for the food and other things, but the fine behavior, which we call somebody is really a very gentleman. So why? Because he is so humble, he is so compassionate. So these are very fine behaviors. So their behavior will be totally different. So you can understand the mind, because the mind, it carries impression of the previous life. The soul which is coming from the previous life, it is carrying the impression what you were earlier, and that gives you exactly the initial impetus once you get into a different body, and your body then it starts working like that. So it's in the psychology we call it priming. So your body is getting primed by this. Okay. So if you see even the 5-year child and the girl child and the male child, they get attracted towards each other. And you may not be aware of, but medical science Professor Mukhopadhyay must be aware of about this. So it's the reason it does not happen with every child, but some of the child you will see that they are very active and they are getting mixed with the girl child and so on. It's because of the previous life, it comes that impression. And that impression, so mind is carrying that impression, and how this mind is working, that has to be understood. Whether at the quantum level, because it's a thing where your memory, you can say the past life memories is stored, and whenever it gets excited, then it starts recovering. Somebody is very silent, okay, but you provoke, and then you will see that he is so fiery, okay, and then he will show all kinds of it will erupt like volcano. So the mind is very, very subtle, and it's a very fine and very difficult to understand here. So we need to understand the mind, and thereafter only the consciousness comes. Okay. So what here this conference is going to be very interesting, because we have experts from different fields, and they will be presenting their view, and we will have a lot of opportunity to learn about the things. So on this very first day, the first lecture is by Professor Dipankar Home, and he is retired senior scientist from Bose Institute, and he will be talking about examining the possible relevance of a study of consciousness to quantum measurement problem. So if there are efforts to connect the consciousness through the quantum theory, this lecture aims in that direction. On the other hand, we have the second lecture by Sri Varun Agrawalji, who will introduce science of consciousness in quite details. He has written many articles on consciousness while interacting with Nobel laureates over a long stretch of time, and he is disciple of Dr. T.D. Singh. Okay, so we have the next lecture by Professor Anthony Suarez, Founding Director of Center for Quantum Philosophy, Zurich, Switzerland. He will talk on consciousness, sleep, and quantum. It will be very interesting to listen to him how quantum effects spans the domain of consciousness and sleep. Thereafter, we have Professor Deepak Chandra Ghosh, Emeritus Professor, Sir C.V. Raman Center for Physics and Music, Jadavpur University, Kolkata, will present his research on comparative study of brainwaves for different states of consciousness and EEG-based exploration. So how neuronal activity is experienced by the conscious human being is the subject matter of this lecture, and opens a new vistas for understanding. Then we have the Professor Shishir Roy, visiting professor and senior Homi Bhabha Fellow, National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. He will present contemplative practices and challenges to the modern science. How this consciousness is posing challenge to the science is the subject matter of this lecture. A keynote address will be delivered by Dr. Federico Faggin, the world-renowned discoverer of microprocessor and very well-known speaker on consciousness topics in Europe and USA. He was formerly principal designer and leader at Intel, California, USA, and meanwhile the president Federico and Elvia Faggin Foundation, USA. Then thereafter we have lecture by Professor Ram Gopal Upalleri. He is professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Guwahati, and will discuss the functional analysis of consciousness. Okay, this explores the functions of the consciousness. Tomorrow, then we have lecture in the a very enlightening lecture, the very first lecture by Professor Dr. A.K. Mukhopadhyay, and long back I have been interacting with him. He was at AIMS and I visited him for one of my friends who got cancer there and he was admitted there. And at that time I had a long interaction with him. And he has written many books on consciousness and its origin. It will be very exciting to listen to him. And really he is doing great work. So I am eagerly waiting for his lecture also. Then we have Sri Sukhdev Das, Director, Bhaktivedanta Institute, Radhakund, UP, and he will discuss photon and encounter consciousness, conscious visual perception in neural spatio-temporal dynamics of the brain and its interpretation from the Vedic perspective. This lecture is bit a mix of the Vedic wisdom and the science. Okay. Then we have Professor Ramji Rekpa from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Mechanical Materials and Aerospace Engineering, IIT Dharwad, Karnataka, and will deliver lecture on the role of consciousness in human values. In a world of deteriorating human values, we have opportunity to get enlightened by his lecture. Okay. Then we have also lecture by our Bhaktivedanta President, Sri Vasudev Raoji. So I have interaction with him since IIT Kanpur. While I was also a student, he was also a student there. Yeah. A purely Vedic perspective on consciousness will be presented by Dr. Hari Krishna Mohanta, Department of Chemical Engineering, BITS Pilani, Sushant Sharma, alumnus IIT Guwahati. He was in IIT Guwahati. He is a BTech from IIT Guwahati, Computer Science, and the Director of Cognitive Studies and Performing Arts, Bhaktivedanta Institute, Kolkata, and will discuss the missing link between the artificial intelligence and human intelligence. And there are other lectures also. So I have already taken a lot of time. So thank you, Siddharth, for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Sabhaya Namaha. So good morning. Dear friends, I'll tell friends because I'm seeing a lot of youngsters here. I'm extremely happy for a theme like Science of Consciousness. Seeing so many youngsters, it gives me a lot of happiness to see that this particular area is going to be taken forward and forward by the next generation. And I have a great pride and honor to be part of this prestigious international conference where we are having very, very reputed speakers from all across the globe, thanks to the efforts by the organizers. And I want to make a confession before I speak whatever few remarks I am going to make. That is, I am the least qualified person to be on the stage to talk about or to be on the stage itself, because my knowledge on the subject of consciousness is tending to 1 over infinity. Okay. So that is the type of background I have got in this subject. But being from space background, okay, we explore outer space, and I am also more towards the engineering aspects of it than the science aspect. So coming from a space perspective, where of course the glamour of ISRO is so high, because mankind is so much attracted towards exploring the cosmos. And that's why we have a lot of adulation and admiration sometimes it may not be really that much worth deserving also, it's possible. And normally they say to describe a complex subject, it's not rocket science. But I feel while we are exploring the outer space, the subject of inner space, that is, study is much more complex and much more involved than the study of outer space. So I can see a galaxy of people who have worked in this particular area, which is most difficult to explore without the glitz and glamour of space exploration. Okay, so I am really happy that I am made part of this exercise. So, and as I told, the study space, we are having very, very gigantic instruments, a rocket with the blazing that it goes, everyone, even from childhood, we enjoy the most enjoyable cracker is the rocket, right? Firing a rocket. So that's what we are all seeing. So there are very glamorous instruments, as I have told, and we carry spacecrafts, Aditya, Chandrayaan, the kind of coverage they have got, and James Webb Space Telescope, which was developed over 40 years across the countries, over 1 lakh crores of budget. So all this is happening. But what is happening, as I said, towards the inner space? I think without this glamour, how you are going to do this? So this is where the conferences like this are going to be helpful. And I am myself curious to know this science of consciousness. Definitely the study of inner space was there, especially in our own Bharat. From this Bharat, our scientists, okay, we call them by different names, maybe Rishis or whatever we tell, but they had different kind of scriptures, and it was all packaged in a way which was compatible to those times. So socially, whatever was compatible at that time, it may or may not be fitting into the modern definitions for science, but definitely they have packaged all these aspects were studied much, much deeper. Only we have not gone too explicitly to publicize all over the world, like evangelistic spirit or whatever they call. With that kind of spirit, maybe it was not propagated, but definitely there is scope. And now anyway, we can see internationally there are efforts to understand in the definition of modern science. Okay, so what are the scientific vigor when you want to study a subject? What are all the things make it scientific? One is the peer review and validation. Whatever you propose has to be reviewed and validated. Then the kind of instruments that you use to measure, it could be different types of things. It need not be a telescope alone. Okay, but how do you validate? How do you calibrate the data that you are getting from different kinds of mind experiments or whatever you are going to do? And is it amenable to any mathematical modeling? Is it deterministic, or is it stochastic, or it is not modelable at all? So all these are the subjects which we are going to see. And I saw a subject also on artificial intelligence versus human intelligence, all that. So we are going to listen to all that. And on a personal note, I would like to thank Dr. B.D. Mundraji. As I said, the only qualification for me to be here is the love and affection of Dr. B.D. Mundraji towards me. Otherwise, I am the least qualified person to be here on the stage. Okay, sir. And all for youngsters, I will tell, there is one thing you can learn from Dr. Mundraji. He is 82 plus. But see the dynamism he has got. It is more than any other teenager. And I have seen, because as he said, during COVID, his eyesight has slightly degraded. But still, every day he gets some Swamijis. I have seen Swamiji also in his office. He will call some Swamijis. He will discuss with them because he is not able to read the way he was reading when he was younger. He discusses with them, tries to assimilate whatever is happening today in the world. So the interest to learn. So just now also he was mentioning learning is a continuous process. Sir, it's a real honor for me to be part of the things you are doing. And he is an inspiration to the younger generation. Kindly follow him. And I am happy also to be in the city of joy, the Kolkata and the land of West Bengal, because this is the land of Ramakrishna Paramahamsji, Swami Vivekananda, Guruji Rabindranath Tagore, and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And this is the land which gave Vande Mataram during freedom struggle, and post-freedom we have got Janaganamana. Both have originated from this particular. See, to have and both anthems from a regional language, I think that shows the spirit of Bengalis. And of course, Saurav Dada is here, and the fans of Mohan Bagan and East Bengal they coexist here. I am sure in this audience also there will be fans of both the clubs. So I'm very happy to be here in Calcutta. And I have one small suggestion to the organizers, sir. I have gone through the list of the programs and I am seeing the on the stage and off the stage. Off the stage, I am seeing more than 50%, perhaps 60 to 70% women population. But on the stage and in the speakers list, what we are missing is some women speakers. I think in the next conference, we have to make amends for this because I see diversity when you see the diversity is much more in medical profession compared to other professions because it's a need actually. It's the need of the hour because we have got two within human species if we take. So to understand the consciousness of a woman's mind, we don't know. I don't know at least that. So we must have some women speakers who have got some insights into that. I think the next conference you can make amends towards this. So, and I don't know future what is going to be there. This field may evolve where beyond human species conference also, consciousness also, you may be trying to explore that. I am not conscious of that. At the same time, really, there is one saying, one who knows and knows that he knows is wise, follow him. All these people are belong to that first category. There is another, I will not tell all the 4 categories, but I belong to second category. One who knows not and knows that he knows not can be taught, teach him. Sir, I am here to learn from the gurus who have got assembled over here, and I am eager to learn over the next 2 days. I can promise that I will be there till 9 o'clock or whatever the session closes, both these days to learn from all these luminaries. And I will thank the organizers. Actually, Amitabh Bachchan song is there in Namak Halal, no? आप अंदर से कुछ और बाहर से कुछ नजर आते हैं. So he there itself he has told how difficult it is to explore the inner side of a person from seeing the outside. Of course, it may not exactly fit into study of consciousness, but just to attract more. And I feel one subject is there where you want to attract more youngsters into this particular field. I think that is where you have to get people who are just than being theory or this, who are little more practical, who can attract common man. Okay, whatever. Common students, I think that kind of popular speakers also, we may have to engage to make it a movement. Okay, consciousness science movement, if you want to bring, we have to indulge the services of the popular speakers who are interested in this particular thing. So with this small sharing of my mind, I would once again like to thank, and I am going to be an eager student over the next 2 days. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Siddharth. Namaskar and good morning. First, I seek blessings of all the gurus here. We have a very distinguished guest on the dais, Professor Ramji Singh, Dr. B.D. Mundra, sir, Swamiji, Sri K. Basudev Rao, Prakash Rao, sir, beautiful talk is delivered. Manoranjan Sinha, sir. I can see a lot of young minds out here in the crowd. So we have distinguished attendees in the crowd also, participants, learners. It is a privilege to be here today, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me to attend this program. And it is very important for me also because I'm attending it at the function is happening at my alma mater. I'm alumnus of Jadavpur University, and it is giving me a lot of good feelings being here with all of you. So I'll just have some of thoughts I had when I have received. I have been told that you have to talk on these inaugurations. So I've just given a lot of thought that what exactly is the consciousness meaning for us. Scientists have long debated the nature of consciousness. Some tells it's located in your mind, particularly the frontal lobe of your brain. otherwise others in the heart, and some suggest it is everywhere within us and our surroundings. Imagine this: a plate of basmati veg rice, veg pulao is placed in front of you, and the aroma hits your senses, making your stomach suddenly conscious of hunger. That is the conscious as it is most reliable. So conscious is actually the fabric of reality, intertwined with the universe and all around. It is all around you. In India, consciousness often finds expressions in cricket. You watch cricket? Watching an India versus Pakistan match is not just about the game. It's a spiritual experience. Every ball bowled feels like a mantra. Every six hit, a moment of nirvana. And every lost wicket, a taste of your inner peace. This immersion is another example of consciousness at work. The other aspects also. Suppose those who are the married men, if they forget their wedding anniversary again, see the kind of feeling you have in the afternoon and in the evening, kind of feeling you have, that is in a consciousness, it's a different kind of feeling. Over the period of time, this consciousness has been significant advancement. Today, research blends insight from neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, quantum physics, health science, neuroscience to explore consciousness, its origin, and relationship with the brain and subjective experience. I remember about 15 years back, I'd read a book, Emperor's Own Mind, by a very renowned physicist and Nobel laureate, Roger Penrose, who argued that human consciousness might require a revolution in our understanding of physics, potentially involving quantum mechanics. He suggested that consciousness is linked to quantum computing occurring within macrotubules in your brain cells. That was his observations. And how many of you read today? It's a very beautiful quote written on your back of the conference bag. Consciousness is the least and ultimate mystery of the universe. It's already there on your back. We, Prakash sir said that we have computing. Computing is a very, very important aspect which is touching upon every aspect of our life. And everybody is now affected by the environment, ICT or the AI. It's become an extended mind for all of us. So how AI is impacting this consciousness, that is also a very important aspect that we have to study. We have to work upon this. We also have a kind of, lot of researchers are already been investigating whether machines could develop a form of consciousness. That is again one aspect. A lot of research areas have been taken place. Theories like artificial consciousness, which explores it would take for a machine to have not just cognitive abilities, but subjective experiences as well. And this is one aspect of this one, but it raises some ethical questions and rights of the potentially conscious machines. But this consciousness is not new to India. In the ancient Indian wisdom has long delved into consciousness. Practices like morning meditation, you sit back, folded legs, you chant Om. That is actually brings you to a certain level. This is consciousness, as described in the Vedas and Upanishads, connect us to the universal consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita, a lot of mention was here about the Bhagavad Gita, as to maintain inner peace through Karma Yoga. While Patanjali Yoga Sutra offers techniques to calm the mind even in the chaos of daily life. So why study consciousness? Why it is so important as given to science of consciousness and all? It's beyond the scientific curiosity. Understanding consciousness can enhance artificial intelligence, mental health, and our daily lives. You may say that you remember that whenever you're locking a door going out, you have in your mind that whether you have locked the door or not. If you are really practice consciousness, you will say that yes, no, I have locked the door. You don't have to think twice on that. CDEC is I come from the organization called Center for Development of Advanced Computing, CDEC, which comes under Ministry of Electronics and IT. Uh, is well poised to take up this challenge of the work on consciousness. As we are working on the creation of the high scale digital infrastructure, uh, the HPC we call it high performance computing. You may know it as a supercomputers. We develop those supercomputers. We work on this India AI mission. We are the part of the India AI, driving the India AI mission. We are a part of the quantum computing, Government of India mission of quantum computing. We also work on the biotechnology, health sciences, computational biology, neuroscience, etc. And all those areas are very much important if you are talking about the science of consciousness. Today, I'm attending this particular conference. Tomorrow also we have the things. We have a great speakers from great scholars going to deliver their sessions. I have gathered some information in bits and pieces, but I come here with a very clean slate. I've unlearned whatever I had in my mind. And I would like to see as this conference as a structured way to create the knowledge of this science of consciousness. So, in conclusion, the science of consciousness is fascinating journey into the mind's greatest mysteries, whether it's our thoughts, dreams, or daily experiences. Consciousness is the essence of being human. So let's celebrate our consciousness, the ability to think, feel, love, and ponder the universe mysteries. And remember, next time you lose your car keys, blame it on quantum computing. Okay? So thank you, and may your consciousness always shine brightly. Thank you very much.
Namaskar. The dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, honorable professors and administrators of the Jadavpur University, the research scholars, the administrators of the Bhakti Vedanta group, the institute, dear delegates, and my dear friends. First of all, I must thank the Bhakti Vedanta Institute and the administrators for honoring me. It is an honor to me to call as chief guest. And in this August gathering, where the conference on the science of consciousness is being organized, many things will be learned because almost all fields of the science are together here working on consciousness. A warm greeting to all of you. Here in this conference, may we be given the good wisdom to understand this very important subject, that is science of consciousness. Science has given so much of the things. We are enjoying it.
be it travel by air, be it by communicating with the mobile phones. The technology developed in different fields, the medical science, the advanced and tertiary care hospitals are coming up. The computing and artificial intelligence, which has just emerged. In fact, about artificial intelligence and all those things, uh, the, particularly the senior members here must be remembering. I still remember the cartoons which I used to read in my childhood about Mandrake and Lothar. There at a time, uh, we can say an alien came to correct the computer system which was controlling the washing machines and other utensil washers and everything. And it so happened that computer became erratic and it started doing something different, not washing the clothes and utensils and pulling it out of the equipment. So that alien corrected that. So it means that that time there was a thought that something has much more developed in the universe, maybe imagination, which is now slowly coming to be true. So that is where we find that the science has evolved itself with the efforts of the scientists of the different field to find it out and to develop the things which can make our lives easier and comfortable. But at the same time, the comfort which comes when you are happy, enjoying the surroundings, comfortable, conscious, then it comes to understand what is the consciousness, what is the science behind it. The scientists have been working on it right from 17th century, where the philosophy started. Then in 18th century, it belonged to the physical and chemical sciences. 19th belonged to the biochemistry, bioengineering, biotechnology, and life sciences. And now in 20th century, we are seeing computing and artificial intelligence. This medium of consciousness is also, as rightly said by my previous speakers, in Indian scenario where we say is as a Chetan. But I feel there is some difference between being Chetan and being conscious. Chetan incorporates beyond the simple consciousness. Max Planck, one of the founding father of the quantum physics, that is also important to know. Scientists are working on that. He gave the following statement on consciousness, that is, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. Considering this statement, the subject matter of this conference, namely the science of consciousness, to my belief, has two realities. That is, the reality of everything else but the consciousness, and the reality of consciousness itself. This is due to the very reason that consciousness is the ground for the realization of reality being explored by consciousness. The science of consciousness, to my belief, will have specific philosophical and experimental realities and their sublime integration. What is consciousness when we think in terms of the medical science or our day-to-day activities. Simply to say, the consciousness is function of the human mind that receives and processes information, crystallizes it, and then stores or rejects it with the help of the five senses, the reasoning ability of the mind, imagination and emotion, and memory. Patients are coming to us in different states of their consciousness. We evaluate them. We evaluate them with the different type of scales. One of the commonest scale which is being used in medical science is the Glasgow scale of coma, where we see the visual responses, the eye responses, we see the motor responses, we see the responses which are coming through the verbal system. So there are different ways of evaluating, but they all come to, and when the score is higher, we say that the person is conscious, comprehensive, and oriented to the surrounding. When the scale is lower side, we say the patient is not so conscious or completely unconscious, depending upon the number of scores. When I started learning physiology, I came across the sentence written in the textbook. To understand the brain is like standing at the foothills of a mountain. So to understand consciousness, similarly, we can see that we are still standing at the foothills. As I said, we require all sciences together to understand this. It is not simply a medical science or exploring the mind by physical equipments and going into the details of the wirings and that is the connections of the neurons and the axons and the cells which are there. It is a very complex mechanism. As I said, it relates to different senses which are perceiving the informations from the surrounding. The five senses. And then these informations are integrated, analyzed, and then a result is perceived. And if it is fruitful, it is stored. If it is not fruitful, it is rejected. That is simply, I can say, the brain works. And that is where we think that the mind is conscious, the individual is conscious, thinking and working in the society. Another aspect of the science of consciousness, it relates to our conscience. This consciousness without conscience, I feel, may not be a very good thing and may not be very, it may be other way, it can be a destructive also. We often study the theory of the science, but do not have documented evidence. The shapes that shapes this wonderful and breakthrough theories. So therefore, we have to be working together to find out more and more about this. The other portion of the understanding of the consciousness is towards the experimental reality, which to my belief is the most subjective and challenging aspect. Subjects such as ethics, human values constitute such reality as they foster the most innate and sublime features of human engagement. A classical example of such study is meditation and associated biofeedback experiments. In such studies, while the meditator's consciousness level is linked to the good health and reduced stress factors in the cells of the human body, the meditator's ability to comprehend the reality experienced beyond the level of awareness in deeper meditation pose even stiffer and tougher challenges. The lack of instrumentation to quantify such qualia prompts the need for the integration that both approaches, that is, the experimental collection of the knowledge along with the scientific and philosophical connections. Similarly, the study of the science of the consciousness is in animals and plants is an interesting subject. Such a subject provides deeper explorations of the reality of consciousness, even beyond awareness. So, looking at this, we can say that it is a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary area. I am happy to note here that this conference on the science of consciousness, where the scientists from all fields are gathered, along with the people who are working on meditation and spiritual aspect of it, will be able to explore deeper into it and find out how this can be, this science can be used in a better way to make us a good human being on this earth. Finally, I thank all the organizers here for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with you. I wish all participants a wonderful and memorable stay and learning. Thank you very much and all the best.
Yeah, I thank the organizers for making this event to be successful. So this will be incomplete, this especially the release of this book. Of course, I thank the organizers and I thank the dignitaries on the dais as well as off the dais for releasing this great volume. This is great because this was instituted by Dr. T.D. Singh, the founder of the founder director of Bhaktivedanta Institute. So he wanted to bring something new for this younger generation. So this is especially for the younger generation. The content has been put in such a way that the younger generation, especially the college goers and school goers, they can easily understand in a simplified language to understand the deeper aspects of the scientific and spiritual quest, how you can really have a inquisitiveness in your minds. So this will be incomplete, though our Siddharth ji has very kindly spelled our names. And apart from me, actually the main movers, the prime movers of this book are Sri Sushant ji and another editor. So another associate editor like Srimati Radha, and then Dr. Roshan Tiwari, who is on the dais. So he is also one of the contributors of this. And apart from this, there are numerous people who have put very hard work in bringing this magazine to the light of this day. So thank you so much once again.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth, and welcome everyone to this wonderful two-day conference. So, good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, all dignitaries on dais, and dear participants. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my profound honor to extend my heartfelt gratitude as we gather for the Science of Consciousness Conference 2024 here in Jadavpur University. We express our deepest gratitude and blessings of our visionary Dr. T.D. Singh for his unwavering inspiration and guidance. The first international conference on science of consciousness, 1990, by Dr. T.D. Singh, served as an inspiration for many academicians to scientifically study consciousness. His visionary leadership has been instrumental in manifesting this event. We are also deeply indebted to Sri Madhavdas Mundraji for his lifelong dedication towards the social welfare, education, culture, spiritual regeneration, and upliftment. We are deeply honored by the presence of our chief guest, Dr. Ramji Singh. Sir, thank you very much for accepting the invitation and share the profound words of wisdom despite having a busy schedule. We express our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest of honors, Mr. Prakash Rao ji, Sri Aditya Kumar Sinha ji. Your profound insights, sir, will enrich our event and will motivate us. We'll also deeply acknowledge all the esteemed speakers for kindly accepting our invitation to share their profound wisdom and insight over the subject of consciousness. The conference is jointly organized by Bhaktivedanta Institute and Bharati Vidya Mandir. We are very much thankful to all the members of these organizations. We offer our deepest gratitude to Dr. B.D. Mundraji for his steadfast support throughout the conference preparation. Thank you, sir. We extend our heartful thanks to all the organizing team members who devoted their time and effort to overseeing publicity, registration, website designing, accommodation, travel, and other essential tasks. We humbly acknowledge and thank the members and volunteers of Bhaktivedanta Institute, Bharati Vidya Mandir, Bharati Sanskriti Samsad for various services. We thank all the participants from all over the nation for joining the conference. We also thank the scholars for showing interest in the poster session competition, coming up with very intriguing and novel ideas. We also extend our heartfelt welcome to the performance of the world famous Manipuri cultural arts troupe, which are coming from Manipur. We also deeply appreciate the good wishes and prayers from friends and well-wishers. We are grateful to Sri Vasudev Raoji, Sri Varun Agrawalji for their continuous support and guidance for the conference. While words may fall short, our gratitude is boundless. We express our sincere thanks to everyone involved, named and unnamed, from the core of our hearts. We also, I forgot to mention, we also like to thank the people, the staff of Trignasen, this auditorium, who helped us a lot. And as one more thing I would like to add in this, that as our Prakash Rao ji sir told that there is no dignitaries, women dignitaries in the dais, but we invited just a day before. She cancelled, she was busy in some other things. One more thing I just like to add that regarding the meals. We have tried to cook the meals on the campus, but due to logistic problems, reasons, we could not cook here. So therefore, we are providing meals in the packed plates. Sorry for any inconvenience happened. So thank you all. Hope you will like the two-day conference. Thanks.